Alright, so I am CJ Lack doing a test recording video for this Camtasia software, in case anyone would be interested in it. And I'm here doing an IAC sealed, and I have my friend Carson on Skype. Say hi.
Hello.
So, I already built the deck, but I'm going to explain how I came to the decision. So, let's put these cards back. And the first thing you always want to do when building a sealed deck is pause by rarity, because those tend to be your best cards and the most powerful ones that you want to play. So right off the bat, we see not only we see one, two, three, four good red rares. Some are more powerful than others. The Devils and the Hatebound are what you'd consider bombs, cards that break the game open, while as Stormkirk Noble and Increasing Vengeance tend to be uh, just a very efficient creature and a utility instant, which are both good, but not on the same power level. Regardless, they factor into the decision of how much we want to play red. And when we go to color, red's also our deepest color, in addition to being the most populated with rares. So, first thing I do is scroll, check in all the cards I would be happy to play.
And you're fine playing Burning Oil with no white?
I might find a way to work the white in. Our color requirements for our red are not particularly deep. We only have one double colored spell, and it's Increasing Vengeance, which we'd be casting later in the game regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So compare it to something like Highborn Ghoul, which you would always want on turn 2, or
So you
Strangleroot
probably
Geist.
want quite a few spells,
Uh,
like instants and sorceries. I mean,
at least one powerful one. We have the Brimstone Volley, which is probably what we're going to be using it with a majority of the time. But we also have Burning Oil, and we have our other colors to pair it with. Now, looking at the black, and I look at the black because I see Fiend of the Shadows, which is a strong card. Not amazing, but perfectly strong. The black is not remotely deep at all. The best cards are Skursdag Flare and Tragic Slip. The There are other good cards. Highborn Ghoul is a good card. Um, Gruesome Discovery is a bit underrated. It's fine, and it's probably pretty good in sealed. Certainly better than a draft, but we're not gonna go into black for one, two, three cards. The white is good. The white has Champion of the Parish, but not many of our red creatures are humans. Just the Village Ironsmith. So the two colors don't particularly synergize well. We have Champion, Gather, as cards I would be happy to play. These two, the Cathar, the Mausoleum Guard, the Midnight Haunting, the Inquisitor, and maybe one Smite the Monstrous. But these cards don't really work as well with our red cards. Our red cards are very strong in power, whereas these cards are not. They tend to favor a stronger early game, whereas the red favors a stronger later game. So the white's not as good. So we want to pair with. Let's take a look at green. I obviously paired it with blue, so we'll look at green. Green is okay, but what it's really missing is a couple more strong creatures and maybe a Wild Hunger to make the deck come together really well. There are some strong aggressive cards. There's a Scorn Villager, Strangleroot Geist, the Bear, the Mystics, and the Outcasts, all fine cards, and as well as the Travel Preparation, which with the Burning Oil could lead to a white splash with the Vigil. But it's not exactly the most enticing. A lot of the creatures are fairly weak, don't have the support to really carry the game without more uh, maybe removal. The Again, green also has a similar problem to white, where we're looking to play a very grindy game with Flare the Hatebound, Charmbreaker Devils, and Increasing Vengeance. So lastly, we look at blue, and blue has some strong cards already: the Grasp and Snapcaster Mage, and the two Battleground Geist and the Moon Heron are very good. They're not bombs, but they're highly efficient creatures, and evasion is always key. There's also some strong support cards: the Occultist, the Forbidden Alchemy, the Screeching Scab, Sensory Deprivation, which is a fine spell, and the Armor Scab for early blocking, and also turning on some of our flashback spells to ensure we go later in the game. Now, these are all the cards I'd be super happy to play. Now, there are a couple others based on our curve that I feel I want to include. One is the Makeshift Mauler. We have the Screeching Scab and the Armored Scab. So being able to cast him on turn 4 a reasonable amount of the time makes him a lot better. And especially because he's a high power creature that uh, tend to be good. And the last two I chose to include were the Ashmouth Hound and the Hinterland Hermit. Just as early 2-drops, the way we would lose with this deck is letting our opponent get a really fast start with their own turn 2 werewolf creature or something to that extent, a really aggressive start. So we want early blockers in this game, as well as offensive creatures if we start with our own Stormkirk Noble. Then when we get to later in the game, we have some insane bombs and highly efficient creatures that will really take over the game as well. And the last thing I considered, I originally had Markov Warlord, but he is not at his best in this deck. He's best in red black, where you push a lot of damage through early and use him to sort of finish them off. So we want the Blazing Torch instead, just as really another removal spell. And that's how I came to this deck. It was simpler than most because of the rarity or the red rares, but there's still some decisions to be made. I am probably not going to play white, or I probably couldn't play white actually for the Burning Oil over an island because everything is single color except for the Increasing Vengeance, as stated earlier. So let's do that and submit our deck.